I remember those scary days so well. Everything began with innocent dreams of getting married to Philip Markoff. He was my fiancé, a student in medical school with a bright future ahead. We were all set for our wedding, and I was busy with all the plans. Meanwhile, Philip seemed more focused on studying and going to casinos, not realizing he was getting deeper into debt. Then, in April 2009, something awful happened that I could never have imagined. News stories started talking about women who were hurt after advertising their services online, looking for clients on Craigslist. Tricia Leffler and Julissa Briesman went through something terrible, attacked by a scary person hiding in the dark. Tricia was robbed at gunpoint, scared and tied up in a fancy hotel. Julissa lost her life in a terrible way, shot and left struggling to breathe in a Marriott hotel room. I was so busy with our wedding plans that I didn't notice the bad things happening around Philip. The police slowly pieced together the scary story, connecting all these attacks. The victims had something in common. They had all offered personal services online, which led them to a very mean person. That person turned out to be Philip. Philip matched the description, tall, blonde, and looking nice. I had no clue that the person I loved, the person I was going to marry, was the criminal they were looking for. The proof started piling up as the police figured out his double life. Videos from security cameras, digital tracks, all pointed to our apartment. I can still see the bright lights in my head as the police stopped us on our way to the casino, about to reveal the terrible truth. They found really weird things in our apartment. A gun, bullets that matched, plastic ties, tape, and underwear stolen from the women. It felt like the walls were closing in on a bad dream, swallowing me up. Philip got arrested and charged with murder, robbery, and kidnapping. My world became a house of terrors, and I was stuck inside. His trial was coming, and the proof was too strong to ignore. He was now accused of awful things. In the courtroom, as the truth came out, it felt like a never-ending nightmare. The man I loved was actually a monster, capable of doing these things. Our dream wedding turned into a trial that would bother me forever. The job postings on Craigslist seemed like a lifeline for those struggling to make ends meet in rural Ohio. But for Richard Beasley, they were nothing more than bait for his twisted plan. He posted job ads for positions that didn't exist, targeting middle-aged men who were desperate for work. When the victims responded to the ads, Beasley would meet them in person and gain their trust. He would ask them to fill out a lengthy application form that contained personal information, including their social security number. This was the beginning of a trap that the victims didn't see coming. Once Beasley had their personal information, he would lure the men to a remote location, often a farm or an abandoned property. There, an accomplice would shoot and kill the victim, burying their body in a shallow grave. He used the stolen information to make fake identities for himself or apply for loans in their names. Additionally, he also sold his victims' possessions for cash and robbed the money they had on them at the time of their deaths. Beasley had planned every detail of the crime, leaving no evidence behind. But his plan began to unravel when one of his accomplices was arrested for a different crime. The accomplice started talking to the police, revealing details of Beasley's dark plan. The authorities began connecting the dots, realizing that the missing men all had one thing in common. They had responded to Beasley's job postings on Craigslist. As the investigation unfolded, Beasley realized that his time was running out. He went on the run, leading the authorities on a chase across several states. He changed his identity multiple times, but eventually, he was caught. The truth behind his twisted plan was revealed, and the people of Ohio were horrified by the extent of Beasley's crimes. They couldn't believe that someone would use the promise of a job to lure innocent men to their deaths. The families of the victims were left to grieve, wondering how their loved ones could have fallen victim to such a horrific crime. Beasley was sentenced to death for his crime, but the memory of what he had done remains. I can still feel that spine-tingling shiver, as if that chilling day is stuck in my mind like a nightmare I can't escape. It was a day that threw me into a terrifying truth about the woman I thought I knew so well, my girlfriend, Karina Robert. Our calm and peaceful relationship took a sudden and frightening turn in 2009, showing me a side of her I couldn't have imagined even in my wildest dreams. Karina's overpowering obsession with having a baby dominated her thoughts, pushing everything else aside. This obsession overshadowed our unmarried status and pushed everything else to the side. Driven by an urgent need, she started exploring the darker corners of Craigslist, looking for a way to fulfill her unusual desires. And during this search, she found an unsuspecting target, a young woman selling baby clothes. The night our lives changed forever is etched in my memory. Karina's behavior had become unpredictable, her eyes shining with an unsettling intensity. She asked me to go with her to pick up the baby clothes she had arranged to buy. I had a bad feeling about this, but I couldn't say no, fearing what might happen if I did. When we entered the woman's house, a strange feeling surrounded us, like a heavy fog. As soon as we walked in, Karina's whole demeanor changed. Out of nowhere, she attacked the pregnant woman, hiding a wicked weapon in her hand. The sickening sound of that weapon hitting its unsuspecting target echoed in the room, leaving me shocked and frozen. I couldn't take my eyes off the nightmarish scene in front of me. Her obsession had turned into madness, and she continued attacking the helpless woman. What happened next was beyond understanding. She seemed determined, forcefully taking the baby out from within. The room turned into something out of a nightmare, a gruesome crime scene. I felt sick, almost ready to throw up from the horror I was seeing. Among the chaos, the lifeless baby was a chilling reminder of Karina's twisted desires. The scene felt surreal, like being trapped in a terrifying dream. At that moment, Karina looked at me, a mix of satisfaction and madness in her eyes. It hit me then. The person I loved was capable of something vile and wicked. Sirens blared suddenly, announcing the arrival of the police. They stopped Karina from causing more harm. As they took her away, I had come to terms with the fact that the person I cared about was hiding a terrifying secret. The truth had come out, and it was more horrifying than anything I could have imagined.